Welcome to our EIGRP for IPv6 lab, bit of a mouthful. So this is EIGRP obviously to work over IPv6 networks, and a bit of a different configuration to the previous version of EIGRP that we configured. Now the other version actually on Cisco equipment you can configure under the interface. It's a less known and less popular way of doing it, but it does work in some ways better. So IPv6, so we've connected two routers together as you can see, and we've used our usual crossover cable because we're not going to bother with the switch, and they'll just resize everything so it all fits nicely. And then from scratch we're going to configure our IPv6 addresses, then our EIGRP for IPv6, and then maybe some show commands. As usual, config.t and then host name R0, IPv6 unicast routing. I'll go into the interface fast Ethernet because that's what I've got on my router. You obviously configure whatever you've got on your router. IPv6 address what have we got? 2001. I have to go back to the diagram there. Double colons and then 1. And we'll no shut that interface. I've gone into interface loopback 0 and I've gone to the 2000 address this time. Again, just keeping it nice and simple because the idea is to look at the routing protocol rather than the addressing. So over to router 1 now. We'll do all the same sort of stuff, but obviously our addresses are slightly different. Okay, so our IPv6 address, and obviously need to no shut the interface, it's just the 2 address on the other side of the point-to-point link. And loopback address, I might have configured that wrong actually, so I might have to come back to that. I record the video and then do the audio later on, so I've just noticed that I may have inserted a mistake there. It's what's known as a layer 8 error when the person configuring the lab hasn't had enough coffees. Alright, so config T again over on router 0, and we're going to go into our commands for IPv6 EIGRP. It can be a little bit confusing if you're doing both routing protocols because the commands you have to enter is in a different format. So IPv6 router EIGRP1 creates the routing protocol and process. You have to issue a no shutdown command in order to get it to work, which is a bit of a strange one. And we have to configure a router ID. Normally it would configure its own, but we need to do that with an IP version 4 address. Now under our interface we actually have to enable IPv6, and all we do is IPv6 EIGRP1, and that references the earlier EIGRP1 that we configured. So I've done that for both interfaces. So there's about 4 commands you need to know, but they're just the terminology unfortunately is different to EIGRP for IPv4. Now over to router 1, and I'm doing the same thing. Now we'll see in a bit if I recognised the typo for my interface address, because it's going to cause problems for me otherwise, or I won't see all the routes. If not, you can obviously see on the diagram how to configure the correct address. EIGRP is working definitely between the 2 neighbours because we've just had a notification pop up on the screen there. And then the same thing, IPv6 EIGRP1 under the interface. We've configured the routing process and no shutted it. Show IPv6 topology, EIGRP topology, and you can see we've got 2 networks there. Show IPv6 EIGRP neighbours. We've got a neighbour It uses the local link address, which is the address that two interfaces directly connected use to exchange updates. Probably not important to know for Network Plus level. It looks like I may have missed my typing error earlier, so hopefully when you're doing it you can correct that and put the correct IP address in, because otherwise the router will be advertised in the wrong network. But I can see the correct networks for, let's see, the 2000 network here on my router 1, which is what I wanted. You can see the, under a show run, I think I just typed there, you can see the address and all the configurations. I look like I spotted my mistake there. So I'll do a no and then the IP address. That's how you take it off, and then I'll add the correct IP address. If I just typed out the correct address, it would then have two IPv6 routable addresses, because it lets you add multiple addresses for IPv6. IPv4 generally just has one address per interface. There's ways around it, but that's not important. So show IPv6 route, and we should see our we've got our 2001 network there, and eventually it'll update and show the 2002 network. Alright, so we've come to the end of the lab. Thanks for watching.